Hello and welcome to this short video on pure economic loss. The first thing to note about pure economic loss is it is simply a financial loss. It is money. It's where the claimant has lost money. But it's something that's not related to physical damage, that's damage to property, or to personal injury. So in ordinary negligence claims or simple negligence claims, you can claim compensation for physical damage, damage to property, and also for personal injury in relation to any negligent act or failure to act, an omission. Claims can also be made for losses suffered as a consequence of either of these things. So if the damage to your property or the damage to you personally, the personal injury, causes further losses, then they are called consequential loss. For policy reasons, the courts don't allow claims for pure economic loss. And this is to prevent the floodgates from opening, allow those with insurance to bear the losses, encourage the use of contracts to deal with loss allocation. So no duty of care is owed where the only loss is pure economic loss. The exception to this is negligent misstatement, when if you suffer a pure economic loss in relation to a negligent misstatement and you can show that there is a special relationship under the rules in Headley, Byrne and Heller, then you will be able to claim for pure economic loss. The two main cases to consider for pure economic loss are Weller and Spartan Steel. So we'll start with Weller. Weller and Foot and Mouth Disease Research Institute was the case where the institute allowed the foot and mouth virus to escape and caused an outbreak of foot and mouth disease. The claimants, who were a firm of auctioneers, failed in their claim for loss of profit caused by the closure of their auction, which was caused because everything has to be shut down when there's an outbreak of foot and mouth disease. But all they had lost was money from this. This was pure economic loss, and if you allowed their claim, this would allow the floodgates to open, as many other people then would be able to claim as well. For example, people who had shops in the area, or people who had pubs and bars, where the people that came to the auction used to go, and you would then end up with an unending amount of liability potentially. So for policy reasons, this type of claim is not allowed. This is also confirmed in Spartan Steel. In the Spartan Steel case, the defendants negligently cut off the power supply to the claimant's factory for 15 hours. There are three separate claims made. The first was for damage done to the furnace because of the power cut, and that was allowed because it's damage to property caused by a negligent act. The second thing was for loss of profit because the metal that was already in the furnace had to be thrown away because it was damaged and they couldn't make it into what they were going to. And that claim was also allowed because it was a loss consequent to the damage to the property. So the metal was damaged and as a result it couldn't be sold. That's a consequential loss and can be claimed. But their third claim for loss of profit for not being able to melt metal during the 15 hours of the power cut was not allowed because that was not linked to damage to property or personal injury. It was a claim for pure economic loss, just for money. And if you allowed that sort of claim, it would open the floodgates of litigation. So again, it's a policy decision not to allow this sort of claim. This is a scenario question from the 2019 AQA exam. Andy owned a car wash. Beth was digging up the road outside Andy's car wash. Beth had been given the plans for the road showing the location of the water pipes, but she had not bothered to look at them. Consequently, when Beth used her digger, she broke the water pipe leading to Andy's car wash. The car wash was not damaged, but Andy did lose an afternoon's earnings as he had no water to wash customers' cars. Suggest why any claim made by Andy in respect of his economic loss would not succeed in court. 5 marks. So if you want, you can pause the video now and have a go at that question. I can show you, this is an answer from a student from the year of that exam, and she got 5 out of 5 for this answer. Andy may have a claim for compensation in negligence. In claims for economic loss, only claims for consequential economic loss will succeed. In Weller, only the farmers could claim as they were the only ones who had suffered property damage, a type of consequential loss. The only thing I would quibble with in that paragraph is that property damage isn't a type of consequential loss. Property damage is one type of loss, and you can also claim for consequential loss, i.e. loss as a consequence of that damage to property. Otherwise happy. Here Andy's car wash was not damaged, so no consequential loss has occurred, and that's true. His car wash is not damaged, so you can't claim for property damage because there's no damage to it, and then you can't claim for any consequential loss either because he's got no damage to property. The loss of earnings is not consequential, but rather pure economic loss, and that's correct. It's just money. In Spartan Steel, the claimants could claim for damage to the furnace, but not for loss of profits because of the power cut. Therefore, Andy's claim would not succeed, and that's correct because for policy reasons, the courts want to keep the floodgates of litigation closed. So that answer received 5 out of 5. The only other thing I suppose you could say is that the exception to this rule is that you can claim for a negligent misstatement rising out of a special relationship under the rules in Hedley, Byrne and Heller. But clearly the examiner thought that this was enough to warrant 5 out of 5. So to practice your pure economic loss, I would suggest that you write a 5-mark answer to a similar question and then practice writing it in 5 minutes to make sure you have enough time. What was good about the previous answer was it related clearly to the facts of the scenario and used 2 cases to explain the principles. So I hope that's been helpful, and that's the end of the video. Thanks.